Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of the AI Nurses Network webinar series. Today, we've got two great colleagues from King's College London, Abby Mitchell and Behnam, Jafari, Salim, to talk about the work they're doing around using AI in virtual simulations. So away you go.
Great, thanks, Siobhán. It's lovely to be here with you all today. We wanted to talk about how we're currently using AI in nurse education and why we're doing that. So as part of our commitment to addressing the national priority of expanding placements and supporting the UK government's goal of delivering 50,000 additional nurses in the NHS workforce, we at the Florence Nightingale Faculty of Nursing, Midwifery and Palliative Care at King's have been exploring innovative, scalable solutions. We know that traditional placement capacity increasingly is constrained due to growing student cohorts, workforce shortages, and pressures on clinical services. And this challenge, we know, is echoed across global healthcare systems. We also recognise the need to reimagine how clinical education is delivered. So to meet this challenge, we launched a bespoke virtual placement in July 2024, which has since delivered over 15,000 hours of simulated practice learning to our first and second year nursing students. And the idea of this virtual placement was to prepare students for contemporary practice by embedding digital health to healthcare delivery, telehealth, virtual care competencies and skills that students may or may not see in traditional practice areas. The placement was aligned with the 2018 NMC Future Nurse Proficiencies and is facilitated by academic staff within King's and our clinical educators, ensuring quality and alignment with the NMC standards for nursing supervision student assessment. We are now building on this foundation by integrating more AI, intelligence and technology across all of our simulation-based education. And what we found is that AI allows us to create dynamic, patient-centered scenarios that include virtual interactions with families and multidisciplinary team members. And these simulations not only respond to student input in real time, but also analyse their ability to decision make, to process, and then gives personalised feedback. The AI has helped us to identify individual learning needs, giving students forward feedback targeted on their development and enabling them to improve their reflective practice. And also importantly, this approach has offered us flexibility, allowing students to learn at their own pace, in their own time, while gaining a deeper understanding of maybe the multidisciplinary team or particularly areas within primary care. So by incorporating AI, we've not only enhanced our learning experience for our students, but we've also helped to future-proof the nurse education that we're delivering in a digitally transformative healthcare system. I'm just going to pass over to Behnam now, who's going to give you some real-time examples of how we've used that AI.
Thank you, Abby. So, in context of simulation, AI is, usually discussed, when they're applied in virtual environments, to support, real-time reactions or changes based on learner or students, actions or what they do or what they don't, and how those make changes. Like, for example, some of the platforms that we use, they have got this physiology in genes where the AI makes those changes based on those actions and simulate some of the systemic body process under different conditions. However, when it comes to from a design perspective and technical perspective, actually we realize that AI isn't just used at the point of learner interaction, but also when we talk about design, delivery, data, and feedback. It's involved in all aspects of it. In case of our virtual placement project, just from a design perspective, the generative AI was an excellent tool, in terms of developing new environments that probably it would have taken so many resources, or it would have been more expensive to develop them. But then now this has allowed us to kind of develop a more dynamic, environments and provide that to students. And the feedback that, we receive from our students, they said, looking at how this helps to kind of to provide a much better experience, to them. When it goes to delivery of simulation, we have been using, a lot simulated patients, AI as a simulated patients, or simulated practice supervising using voice agents that allows a dynamic conversation between learner and the AI characters. So I mean these are basically digital patients with 3 superpowers. They listen and understand human speech, they think and reason and speak and act based on students' actions. So usually the interaction is through a voice commands. So there is this a speech to text components that converts the voice to text, similar to when you type on your Copilot or Chat GPT. And then the step 2 is, and why the AI is why these agents are getting much better is because of these LLMs are becoming more smarter, and they're better they're getting better at reasoning. And then there's this 3rd step, which is the text to speech, which converts the response to voice and what the learners listen. So we have been using it a lot from that perspective. However, it's important to highlight what we're using is they have been purposefully built for dialogue based communication skills training, and the generative AI models supporting these platforms are actually developed for healthcare communication skill training. And the other thing that we need to consider is that the key element here is not just the technology, rather than the authoring process and all the guardrailing and methodology that we put in place to ensure that simulation is meaningful. At the end of the day, it's not just about building a smart boat, rather than developing a system that its behavior remains safe and aligned with our objective, which is a meaningful interaction. So during the process, we author characters with all range of relevant information, like present complaints, past medical and social history, attitudes and character, and style of conversation, to make the scenarios more realistic and relevant to learning outcomes. Sometimes we include misconceptions to bring these different scenarios to life. And then once the interaction is done, then the system collects all the data, which are like spoken interactions, learning decision points, the timing and sequencing of their actions, and their documentation. And this somehow enables us to kind of recognize the pattern between different cohorts, and basically to understand the areas that are for improvement, and common errors that happen between our cohorts. And these insights usually have it would have been very difficult to achieve manually at scale, but now this system is allowing us to capture that. And then the final bit, which is around debriefing and feedback. We've worked very hardly on developing rubrics to ensure that students receive a personalized feedback based on the criteria that has been set by academic colleagues or subject matter experts. And that's what we usually spend the most time on, to ensuring that the data that the students are receiving, or feedback they're receiving, is not based on the hallucination. And one of the projects that we're currently working on is around use of AI simulation as a reflective and debriefing tool, actually to facilitate the thought process and provide feedback to students, based on the quality of, their reflection. And yeah, the feedback that our students are receiving is not just based on their verbal communication. Some of the tools that we use provides feedback to students on their soft skills, and analyzes students reactions or non-verbal communications, like body language and eye contact, and provides feedback to them. And I'll just pass it back to Abby.
Great, Ben. Thanks, Ben. So looking ahead, we can see the potential to really expand this and grow this within our educational provision. We want to simulate increasingly complex clinical encounters and think about how we scale those in high quality education. We also think one of the promising things about AI is that it will evolve over time and become more and more realistic, and thinking about how we might use that in maybe longitudinal case studies that give students an opportunity for ongoing assessment, clinical reasoning and decision making across different care settings. The AI patients could respond to students' interventions in real time, and that provides a rich feedback for communication, empathy and clinical judgment. We also think that we have capacity to advance those learning analytics, and some of the data that Behnam talked about, we're looking at really kind of capturing on that to identify trends in student performance, and also allowing timely, tailored support. So maybe giving us those red flags, maybe thinking about how we might change the educational delivery we have, or even think about the learning outcomes that we've asked the students to meet. This might play a critical role, maybe, in improving retention and attrition within our nursing cohorts, and also think about improving attainment of grades and giving a different variety of learning approaches, which is really important. We also think that we could develop more immersive professional scenarios. So as you can see that Behnam has highlighted that we used it for some scenarios. We also created somebody's home environment. We've created maybe a resource cupboard. So things that maybe make that a much more enriched learning environment. And then we can put in some more things about that kind of multidisciplinary environment, some kind of boundaries, what skills are essential. So really build on the layers of what that would look like in the real world. And then thinking about how the NHS is evolving and adopting those digital healthcare systems, and how we prepare our students for that, and how we future-proof that, and how in AI enhanced learning environments can often help with nurses in the NHS to prepare for the realities of modern practice. So thinking about supporting safe prescribing and care planning, to take away some administrative burdens, to support with an integral part of the learning ecosystem, and harnessing the potential so that it is ethical and it ensures that technology enhances education, so that it remains grounded in the principles of nursing with compassion, critical thinking and person-centered care. So I've got a response to some questions that you asked, Siobhán, if that's okay. So in response to the question, as a nurse, how did it become interested in AI and start doing research on it? I guess really the interest grew from seeing firsthand pressures placed on healthcare systems and the increasing demand for safe, efficient and person-centered care. The emerging literature, and very much my journey within AI came from COVID, which I think was similar to everybody else, very much kind of launched us into thinking, especially with the simulation background, on how we deliver simulation and those meaningful learning opportunities in a way that is sustainable and can grow and can meet with contemporary demands and challenges. My work with the understanding of AI has also very much asked me to look at the ethical side of it and how practically that can be integrated into nursing, and ensure that it aligns with those professional values that underpin the nursing standards. So if I was to give any advice to nurses on what they would want to learn more about artificial intelligence or do AI research, I would say yes, but start small. Stay grounded in your nursing practice. That is the fundamentals. Begin by building an understanding of what AI is and what that means within your own workplace and how that's transferable and how it's currently used in healthcare. think about those kind of smaller ways it's used rather than thinking about advanced technical detail. So read those kind of accessible literature on digital health and clinical decision-making tools and ethics in AI. I would also encourage to think about it from a problem-solving perspective. So what are the challenges in your own practice, such as workload, documentation, patient safety, or education, and explore how it might address or support some of these. And think about collaboration with other colleagues, so colleagues in informatics, data science, or education, and think about how you could all work together in that interdisciplinary research. And then finally, be critically reflective as we are as nurses. So bring that vital nursing perspective to AI research around the ethics and equity. Do not go away from your clinical expertise. That's a strength, not a barrier, and think about how AI can enhance that in your nursing profession. So we think that AI is likely to become embedded in everyday nursing practice rather than existing as a separate or specialist tool. And one key trend is growing clinical decision-making support systems and identifying patient deterioration earlier, supporting risk assessments, particularly in long-term conditions and frailty and acute care. And another area that AI might reduce the administration burden is maybe documentation, charting, voice-enabled systems, maybe give nurses more time to spend with patients and having those conversations with patients and less time spent completing documentation. Equality is important and related to the governance and the digital equity. And it's important to pay close attention to how AI systems are designed and whose data they use, how they might be biased, what safety areas are addressed, and make sure that they're trusted and that we remain the advocates for our patients and ensure that their care is not compromised and continues to be person-centered and compassionate.
Great, Abby. Thanks so much. I really love the presentation, and I think the students at King's are really lucky to have very forward-thinking colleagues in simulation who are really keen to integrate AI, because I know it's not happening everywhere. And yeah, I think it's a really exciting time because there's so much you can do with different AI tools, and they'll only get better as things progress. So thank you for a great presentation, and yeah, we look forward to hearing more developments around AI and simulation.
Great, thanks, Siobhán. Yeah, watch this space, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future from everyone, hopefully.